We're going to look at some ways to vary three different aspects of this solo. First, just some different ways to use the alternation between the major and minor sounding pentatonic on the one chord. Then we'll look at how to do some major sounding licks further up the neck. And finally, we'll take a look at the turnaround and look at a couple of different ways that we can address that. Let's start with the first 4 bars of the tune and playing on the one chord. One thing we can do is start off with more of a major sound using the 6th and the 3rd, and then resolve it into more of a minor pentatonic sound in the 3rd and 4th bars. So when we wrapped up the solo, I was talking about how just adding in the 3rd and the 6th to the basic minor pentatonic position gives you effectively a major pentatonic sound, also just staying at the 6th fret. If we duck down just a little bit by 1 fret here, we can get the 6th in the lower octave here at the 5th fret on the 4th string. So here's the 5th, the 6th, and the root, as opposed to playing the flat 7. And then from this position, we can easily slide from the flat 3 into the major 3rd here, which is a swing sound that you hear all the time in the playing of Charlie Christian and Tiny Grimes and anybody influenced by Charlie Christian, as he was the first guy to really make this a really fluent and big part of his sound. So let's take a lick like this, starting right on the downbeat. Now that's all very major sounding. And then we can go a little darker. And resolve on the E flat. So what I did for the second half is went to the flat 7. There's a pull off from the 9th, and then came down pentatonic. There's the slide from the 4th to the flat 5 and back, and then hammer on to the root of the E flat when we get there, which kind of targets the E flat and lets you know you've arrived at the 4. So just technique-wise, the one thing you have to do is shift back a little bit to start off, because you'll need your pinky here instead of your ring finger to get that smoothly. And so you slide in with the middle finger here, and then back to this position. But now when you make the slide and you go up, you're now back in familiar 6th fret territory. And you could do a bit of a bend here. And again, you could slide it or bend it. So that's a way to start off with a brighter sound and then move into a darker sound. Let's hear what that sounds like over the track. Let's take this idea of playing in a more major sound and move it up the neck. So here, if you picture this chord shape, that's the next triad shape up the neck on the top 3 strings. And if that's not a familiar notion to you, don't worry, we can just look at what the notes are and you can learn it now. Here's B flat, here's our root. Here's the 5th, here's the root. And so this might be sort of familiar. If those kind of B.B. King kind of licks look familiar, that's that root. But we're going to do more of a swing sounding thing here. So there's the 5th, there's the 6th, and there's the root, just like we had here. And then here's the flat 3rd to the 3rd. And here's the 5th. So we can play licks like this. And we can also take that further up the neck, just within this position, up to the 5th. Now, all that is a little bit more. We've got, it's a bunch of chromatic stuff, but if you break it down, it's just connecting up notes that you already know. Here's flat 3 to 3, here's 4, and here's flat 5 to 5. If you're playing pentatonically, there's flat 3, there's 4, flat 5, and 5. We're just taking flat 3 to major 3, 4, flat 5, and 5. Pull off, and then, and that's a little more elaborate, but here we're adding in one chromatic note between the root and the flat 7. If you were down here, it would be this, or, but here it's, the crossing strings makes it look more complicated than it is, maybe. And here we're going to grab the 9th, which is the note a whole step up from the root. So, and then here's, we're just going to end it with an E flat move. So in time, and here we're hitting this flat 3rd because it's the flat 7 of the E flat chord, and it helps spell out the fact that we've arrived at E flat 7. This is also a really good example of how swing players build up a phrase by playing something, playing it again and adding to it, and then playing like a final answer to it that's the most elaborate thing yet. So let's hear how that sounds over the track. Just one quick technique note that I forgot to mention. There's a double pull-off there. So you've got to pull from the 13th fret to the 11th fret to the 10th fret. And you can practice those just by, without not even using the pick, and just seeing if you can use your finger to create enough sound to make the note sound. And that way, when you do pick it, they'll all come out nice and clear. So that's just one more thing about that. Now let's look at another way to deal with the turnaround. So before we were playing down in this position, we can also spell out the sound of the 2 chord here. And so the 2 chord is C minor, so C minor 7. Here's the root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, and 9. So we'll focus around those notes, the flat 3rd, the 5th, the flat 7, and the root. And an idea like this, which has a chromatic pickup. So the downbeat would be here. Now what we're doing is connecting up the chord tones with scale notes. then again, just like we did in the original solo, instead of spelling out the F chord, we would just go and play some blues licks that resolve back to 1. So what we're playing here is, here's the flat 3, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, relative to C, flat 7, root. And now we can just go to a bluesy lick like that out of this position, using the same stuff we just used. So here's the 3rd, the 4th, the root 5th, and then resolving to the 3rd like that. And there's a bit of a raking thing I'm doing. So upstroke, upstroke, upstroke. Well, maybe I do a downstroke for the last one. And then we could end with something. And this is brighter because this is the 6th to the 7 to the 6 to the 5. And a hammer on, pull off, pull off. And then down here, this is 4, flat 5, 4, flat 3. So here it's brighter with the 6th. Here it's darker with the flat 5. So if we put all that together, 1, 2, 3. So that's spelling out the 2, playing bluesy over the 5, and then resolving to the 1 with some brighter and darker blues licks. Let's hear how that sounds over the track. What I'm going to do is you'll hear 2 bars of the 1 chord, which is, if you're counting along in terms of the 12-bar form, measures 7 and 8. Right after you come back from the 4 chord, we'll hear 2 bars of 1, and then at measure 9, I'll start playing, which is the beginning of the 2 to 5 to 1 turnaround. So 2 bars of the 1, and then I'll be playing a pickup into the phrase that I'm going to show you. Here's one other variation on that idea, which is to play something that's even bluesier towards the end by coming back into the minor pentatonic position right away after you play the 2 chord. So something more like that. So let's hear what that sounds like. So technique-wise, you're diving down to the 6th fret right away after you do the 2 chord. And you're doing a set of bends from the flat 3 towards the 3 with your pinky, but not getting there. That would sound kind of dorky. It's my personal opinion, but also idiomatically, it's not done. It's more of a push towards the major 3rd. It's the same thing as when you hear, it's that. It doesn't go to the major 3rd. It only goes towards, it doesn't actually hit the major 3rd, it goes towards it. So. And that's another rake. So you're going to get all of these notes going on at once. A little bar on the top 2 strings, and then 8th fret on the 3rd string. So in slow motion, it's a downstroke. And you could make it a little brighter by hammering on. That would be okay. In this case, it's just that. And you don't really want this note to ring out. So as you go to the high string, you want to kind of rock back so that the tip of your finger kills that note. There's probably other ways to finger it too. You know, that's the easiest to grab like that. One other thing is just in the previous lick, I should have mentioned just a change in position. That's sort of essential to get into place, is to come off of the 8th fret position with the index finger going here. It's the index finger slide from the 9th to the 10th fret that sets you up for that position there to get all the B flat stuff. So there's some variations to integrate into the solo. Next thing, of course, would be to pull up the track and do some experimenting on your own and have some fun with these different moves.